I am a research scientist with a company that I can't name for fear of them finding me. All names below are fictitious for privacy reasons. A few years ago around Christmas, our Explorer satellite system found strange energy readings in the Arctic Circle. Our team and our military escorts were forced to brave life-threatening blizzards to find the energy source. We were near it when our scout radioed a fast object was headed our way. The military took no chances and fired on the object before we could see it through the heavy snow. There was a loud bang and pieces fell from it as it veered off and disappeared into the storm. The pieces that we found were strange. Wood painted red, toys of all kinds, and a leather-covered book. The book's cover was warm. Its thin, flexible pages were like metal. A pen-like metal cylinder was attached to the cover. Nate, a team scientist, turned the pen over in his hand, wondering how to use it. He stood statue still for a moment, staring at the pen, before screaming bloody murder. He dropped the pen and then passed out. His expression was of sheer agony. I ran over immediately. One of his fingers had been cut off and cauterized so no blood was lost, but we were a long way from the base. It would be several hours before we could attempt to reattach it. I screamed for John to pack it in snow, place it in a specimen bag, and seal it. With luck, the cold would slow decomposition until the doctor could check it out. While John was busy, I examined the pen in the book. Had Nate activated a blade that sliced off his finger? Picking the pen up carefully, I opened the book to an empty page. I placed the pen on the metal surface, being sure the other end was pointed away from me in case that I had it wrong. I made a mark with the pen. It left a neat line similar to a quill pen, with a faint trail of smoke from the metal. Astounded, I put the pen back in its holder, while the rest of the team packed all the wreckage up. Finished, we headed back to our campsite. We planned to get a medivac on site at the camp and hopefully save the guy's finger. What should have been an hour return trip became 2 hours of plodding through bitterly cold, featureless terrain combined with a blinding blizzard. When we made it into camp, we headed to the food tent to refuel and warm up in the company of those sharing the cold misery of this place. Our medic, Jake, took Nate and his finger to the medical tent in hopes that the medivac could get to us in this weather. I took the mysterious book to the food tent. I grabbed some pork chops, pinto beans, and a roll from the food line, and headed to a corner so I could look through this strange find. The first thing I noticed was how light the book was, and how the pages were flexible, though it was a metal of some sort. But the most interesting part was what was on the pages. It took a while, but thanks to my Oma, bless her heart, I saw this was Old German. At first, I struggled, but as my memories of her lessons came back to me, I could read the writing. On the inside cover was a name. This journal is the property and story of Nick Claus. May the one who reads it be enlightened. The 18th of June, in the year of our Lord, 1866. Tobias came to see me today. He wants me to join him on an expedition to the Arctic. His boss wants to be the first German expedition to make it to the Arctic Circle, before Carl Coldeway's expedition next year. It has only been a year since some manic cut my poor Beth to ribbons while I was on another scientific journey. How can I go when she is no longer with me? My brother always gets what he wants, and this time will be no different. He swears this expedition is what I need to live again. Beth, how can I ever live again without you? The 29th of June, in the year of our Lord, 1866. Here we are at last. After all the preparation and hard work, we are on our way. We sail on the Argona Marie. It is a fine ship, with steam and sail power, so we should never be dead in the water during our trip. On our first morning of the trip, Tobias is up early. He is the first on deck from our team to keep himself busy with gear and helping the crew with chores. Hard work keeps boredom at bay on the trip to the Arctic Circle. I hate admitting that my brother was right, but it is good to be away from the tinker shop. No longer hiding in a house of memories and out in the world making new ones. I hope Beth is happy that I'm trying to live again. The 3rd of August in the year of our Lord, 1866. Tragedy. Our trip was marred by tragedy today. Jason Moria, one of the crew, has disappeared. No one saw him after his night watch had ended. I saw him last having an intense conversation with my brother, but Tobias said they discussed some cargo misplaced and found later in that day. Jason was experienced. It is hard to imagine that he fell off the ship. Strange lights were seen in the sky with an incredible Aurora Borealis display continuing until daylight. Beth, I hope you're watching over us from our Lord's domain. Rohan Petrov interrupted my reading. Chris, the samples from today. Yes, Rohan. I hoped you would hurry. I needed to keep reading this history, recorded on something from the future. We can't run any tests on them. I don't know how the military damaged it, never mind what it all is. We can't cut the sample. It isn't wood. He checked his clipboard for notes. You could get the toys at any store. There's nothing unusual to them. But every time we try to scan or cut a piece of not wood, the camp guards report lights in the sky. You mean we were followed? I tried to focus on Rohan, but the open book called to me. Don't tell me you think the sample is calling the UFO to us. I'm just reporting our observations. His face turned red. I guess I had punched a button, suggesting he wasn't being rational. The military is jumpy. They even tried to shoot at the helo as it landed. They blame the snow for low visibility. Okay, tell them to be more careful. Keep the wild theories between us until the data is verified. Again, my eyes were drawn to the open journal. It was calling to me to keep reading. Keep me informed and keep everyone calm. I'm deciphering the book right now, and interruptions don't help. Okay, Chris, sorry to interrupt your research. Rohan was pissed at being dismissed, but I had no time for crazy theories. Deciphering this journal could tell us when and what countries first came to the Arctic. I dove back into the journal. The 5th of August in the year of our Lord, 1866. My journal keeping has been erratic these days. My daily watching for new animals on the ice sheets, fishing, and being a lookout for icebergs keeps me busy all day. The Aurora Borealis is brighter than we have seen yet. There were lights in the sky again too. More of them than before when Jason went missing. Some of the lights came near the ship and went below the surface of the ocean. The crew is spooked and wants to turn back, but Captain Jericho is keeping them in line for now. Tobias seems fearful of the lights. He will not talk and gets angry if I attempt to discuss it. Beth could always get him to talk when he was like this. The 1st of September in the year of our Lord, 1866. The ice is thicker. We are not sure how far we can go before we turn back. If we get stuck in the ice, we could be crushed. The cold is painful, which limits how long we can be on deck and not suffer from frostbite. In the depths of the ship, with our boilers and stoves running as hot as we can push them, warmth still eludes us. Our heavy clothing weighs on our bodies and our spirits, causing emotions to run high. The episodes of malaise are affecting many of us. I worry about Tobias. Beth, I still miss you. The 15th of September, in the year of our Lord, 1866. We lost another man. This time someone else was on deck and saw a shadow run behind Nordric and stab him. Nordric was a blind giant descended from Vikings. He was a rough soul and seemed to enjoy run-ins with the others on board. These fights were becoming more frequent as everyone is on edge from the visit by the lights. Somebody had stabbed him and used the falling snow and strange shifting lights to hide him as they pushed him over and then disappeared. Everyone is panicking and pointing fingers at each other. Tobias believes it is the person that has been whispering mutiny. We are pushing hard against the ice floe now, and it is slow going. This death is not helping keep the men in line. Beth, what have I gotten myself into? The 3rd of October, in the year of our Lord, 1866. Mutiny. After a brief skirmish, our men and loyal crew were able to retake the ship. 3 of the mutineers were killed, and we lost George, one of our botanists. He will be missed. He was a good man. The captain has set them adrift as bait for the lights, so we can get a closer look. Tobias is livid. I've never seen him so mad. I hope that he can get control. I killed a man, Beth. Are you upset with me? An explosion pulled me to the present. I marked my place in the journal and jammed it in my pocket, got into my Arctic wear, and ran outside. Major Johnson ran towards me, backlit by roaring flames where the helipad markers used to be. It looked like the remains of a snowcat within the inferno. Sir, he nodded, I guess you heard the latest run-in with our friend out there. He sure was calm for someone in his situation. Is that one of our snowcats, Major? I pointed behind him. And if so, how? Yes, sir. Whatever it was, it came in fast and dropped what looked like coal. Everything touched by the coal burst into flames. He looked back and into the sky. One of our long-range radios was hit dead center, melted into slag on contact. Injuries. I touched where the journal sat on my pocket. It was unnaturally warm, even through the Arctic wear. It was hard to focus on my job. No, sir. Johnson shook his head. Close calls from debris. Nothing a band-aid won't fix. At that moment, a light once again buzzed the camp. A tent at the edge of the camp exploded. Johnson blinked. The fuel depot for vehicles and some generators, he growled. Major, you have to stop that thing before somebody gets hurt or killed. I stared at the blaze consuming the fueling tent. Or we freeze from lack of fuel for the generators. Yes, sir. We will do our best. He turned and laughed. I decided my own tent was more private than the food tent. The journal pulled at me. I had no reason to ignore its call. Inside my tent, I settled into my cot and started reading again. The 30th of October, in the year of our Lord, 1866. So much has happened since the last time that I wrote in my journal. The mutineers were put adrift on an ice floe. We gave them a raft and provisions for a month if they rationed. One of the men was a map reader, so we copied off directions from our coordinates to the nearest island off Greenland's coast. The massive ice was headed toward that island. They would make it long before they ran out of fuel for a fire and food. I know this sounds cruel, but it was better than what maritime law would have done to them, which was death hanging from a mast. The light showed after dark, which was 10 minutes after we had set the men off the ship. A bright beam from one of the lights illuminated the flow of ice. As the men screamed for mercy, they disappeared into the light. The raft and rations went with them. It was a horrible experience and one that I hope we do not have to go through again. The next day, the ice seemed thicker than before. and we slowed to almost no forward speed. With these sails at full and the steam engine at max thrust, we inched forward. As the days dragged on, we carved a path ever north until we broke through that accursed ice floe. Ahead of us was open water, with some icebergs dotting the scene before us. My new watch was set to look for icebergs as we sailed northward. Tobias, as usual, is the first to volunteer for this cold duty. Today, we spotted what looked like land or more ice. It's hard to know for sure. Beth, do you know what awaits us at the North Pole? The 10th of November, in the year of our Lord, 1866. Disaster has come to our expedition, and I fear that we are all doomed. This new land was sheets of ice as far as one could see. Rivers of slush flowed from some distant source, so we sailed into the mouth of one of those weird rivers. For a few days, it was a normal sailing, like sailing a river. We found the way narrowing, and ran aground on an ice shelf before we could turn the ship. We unloaded sleds and dog teams that we brought with us, and set out in scouting parties to see if it widened again. All we found was a narrowing to nothing, no more than a mile away. The captain had the engine room reverse the propeller and attempted to back off the ice ledge that we had hit. The steel-lined keel had a bit deep into the ice, and the ship was not going to move without more help. We ran lines from the fore and aft of the ship, and all hands were pulling as the ship reversed engines. Lights lit the sky as we struggled to haul the ship free. Snow was falling and the cold air became painful as the temperature around us dropped. Between the weather change and the things in the sky, we were all getting spooked. The ship slipped loose the bonds holding it and floated free again, but it was for naught. The drop in temperature had the way back frozen solid in minutes. All we could do was hope for warmer temps tomorrow and try to reverse course. The night was sub-zero, and our little swaths of man-made warmth became smaller. Tobias has taken to walking the deck at night looking for the lights. I checked in on him when I could make sure that he was warm. Beth, will we make it home? This place was never meant for man. The 11th of November, in the year of our Lord, 1866. Writing is keeping me sane, so I must capture all of these spectacles that we were a part of. More lights are in the sky. It is midday, but the cloud cover is keeping the temperature low and the ice frozen. The clouds are dark and angry, with flicks of lightning galloping back and forth like Hermes traveling between the gods. The crew is a superstitious lot, like most seamen, and are performing old maritime customs to ward against the supernatural. The ice is still frozen behind us, and a blizzard is all around us. Tobias is altering between manic activity and watching the lights spin around us in the sky. I hope tomorrow is a better day. I do not know how long we can keep our sanity in this environment. Beth, one more day in this icy hell might be one day closer to you in heaven. Screams in the night dragged me back from getting lost in this window to the past. Rohan ran toward me as I rushed out of my tent. He yelled something before his head went one way and his body another. The dislodged head rolled toward me, blood pounding in my ears as my eyes followed the trail of blood from head to body. Blood still pumped out of his neck. I could not look away. The nightmare appeared behind Rowan's body. White skin stretched over the outlines of bone, muscle, and sinew, topped by the face of a horned demon. It crouched like it had defied God and was now hiding to escape his holy wrath. It held a staff with a blade glowing and crackling with energy. The journal grew warmer, uncomfortably so. the closer the nightmare got. When it was within striking distance, it froze. Something in my brain screamed for me to flee. I tried to move, but all I could do was raise my hand in defense, still clutching the journal. I expected to lose my head like poor Rowan. The creature stared at the front of the journal. It screamed a horrible growling roar and ran off at an unbelievable speed, leaving me untouched. Johnson ran up from the north of the camp. In shock, my legs were fighting to keep me standing. "Are you okay, sir?" Johnson gave me a quick look over and saw Rowan's head at my feet. God, poor guy. Everything was in slow motion. I was dimly aware of Johnson calling our medic Jake. After what seemed like an eternity, a few soldiers and Jake arrived. While these soldiers bagged Rowan's parts, Johnson and Jake led me to the medical tent. "What kept the creature from attacking you?" Johnson was intrigued by my survival, but I was too numb from shock to talk. "He took out all of Rowan's team and, as you saw, chased Rowan out of the specimen tent and, well..." I looked at him and gestured with the book that I still held. "It was afraid of this, I think." "A book? That thing was afraid of a book." Johnson eyed the journal. "Is it dangerous?" "It's been in my possession since we found it out there." I pointed toward the direction of our last expedition. "It seems like it's more of a danger to it than to us." "Okay, we'll keep it close and stay inside until we get that thing." "Don't worry, I'm going back to my tent when Jake gives the all clear. I'll keep researching this remarkable find." Jake smiled and gave me a thumbs up. Johnson followed me out into the snow. He escorted me, gun drawn, to my tent, and left once he saw that I was safe in my domicile. I opened the journal and found my place. Before I lost myself in these stories again, I realized that I craved this book like an addict craves a drug. Was I in over my head? Feeling foolish, I delved back into the book's entries. The 25th of November, in the year of our Lord, 1866. I have not written because nothing has happened since my last entry. We are all still stuck and spend our days trying to survive the intense cold, and find ways to stay sane as we try different ideas to get us out of this mess. All of this while the light swooped ever closer to our ship day and night. But last night, this all changed when one of the lights came and hovered over us like a hummingbird at a flower. Its bright glow dimmed, and we could make out what haunted us was a machine, a metal cocoon hanging motionless over us. Flames shot out of the side of the flying metal machine. For a moment, the thing was like an iron dragon spouting fire over us. It wobbled like a drunken sailor on weekend leave, and slowly moved off in a northern direction. As it got farther from us, it also grew dimmer. The blizzard covered its movements, and we lost sight of it. After a few minutes, a loud roar reached our ears and a bright glow bloomed in the night, like a mushroom growing in the direction the metal beast had staggered. Not long after, a horrible hot wind hit us, and threw gear and people around like a child stomping through a pile of leaves. Tobias has a sprained ankle. Pieces of debris shot from their place of rest like arrows by this hell-spawned wind. Tomorrow, after we attend our wounds and gather the scattered camp equipment, we will hunt for our elusive harasser and find what fate has befallen the Iron Dragon. Beth, what is happening here? Has some supernatural monster come to roost in the Arctic? The 26th of November, in the year of our Lord, 1866. As dawn broke, our people stirred and prepared for our expedition. We found some of us were taken with a strange sickness, leaving them weak and loose of bowel. Some had high fevers and lost their hair as well. Energized and ready to leave, I showed no sign of sickness. Tobias was also ready to go. He gathered those of us who were still well enough, and with our boss, Joram's blessing, we proceeded north. We left with enough supplies and tents to be able to find this thing as long as we did not travel more than 3 or 4 days. We prepared the sleds and dog teams and headed toward the glow still in the sky. After 5 hours, we were 30 miles north of our ship, looking for a campsite for the first day. By dark, we had established our camp. The temperatures were dropping fast and more snow moved in, but blessedly, it looked to be snowfall and not another blizzard. Harim Knoll, one of our archaeologists, was puking around midnight, and shortly after, he lay dead. Whatever plague befalling our people was fast and lethal. We could all be dead before we can return home. Beth, how long before this invisible killer kills us all? The 27th of November, in the year of our Lord, 1866. This morning, we buried Harim and broke camp. We pushed hard all day to take our mind off of his death, and to get this trip over with before we all fell to this illness. Tobias is in a strange mood today. He jumped on one of the guys for taking extra time to relieve himself during a break. My brother never acts like this, and I worry that he may be feeling sick or too much stress over our situation. We covered another 30 miles today before we stopped for the night. Not sure how far we have to go yet. The glow in the night is still as bright and does not seem to get any closer. Beth, will I wait tomorrow and find that I am next? The 28th of November, in the year of our Lord, 1866. God, what has happened to everyone? I woke up early and found more sick and dead among our people. It is now Tobias and I. Something else is wrong. I found 2 people knifed to death. Did they kill each other? No, it's impossible. They were on opposite ends of the camp and the wounds were fatal. Neither could have walked away to die elsewhere. Who killed them? I know I did not. Tobias is again in a foul mood, not equal to our losing good people. He is not sad. He is mad. Like something inside is twisted and is showing itself. He yelled at me over my curiosity at the deaths of the 2 men. I hope I'm wrong and he's not the killer. Maybe somebody else is following us out in the white. We buried the others and marked their graves so we could carry them back on the return trip. My brother would not entertain the idea of turning around, so we have traveled 35 miles today. I could hear him muttering to himself all day, and I've grown fearful for his sanity at this point. Beth, Tobias is acting strange. I wish you were here to help me get him to confide in me. The 29th of November, in the year of our Lord, 1866. I woke last night to something crunching around in the snow. I quietly loaded my pistol and went out into the night. I could not see anything in the range of my lantern, and Tobias was asleep when I checked on him. Maybe an animal had walked through. Hopefully not one of the big white bears that we saw as we sailed here. As I headed back to my tent, I saw a white flash behind my brother's tent. I went investigating but found nothing. I returned to my tent and tried to sleep. I had entered Sandman's realm when someone entered the tent. I warily opened my eyes. Through the haze of sleep, I made out my brother standing over me, knife in hand. Startled by this nightmare, I jumped up from the cot. The empty tent had its tent flap open and letting in cold. Was it a dream? Or something more sinister? Day came and we once again journeyed north, following the glow of the unearthly object out there in the snow. How can I look my brother in the eye when I believe him to be a murderer? Beth, Tobias is my brother. How can he be evil? I heard Major Johnson outside, so I opened my tent door a crack. Johnson rushed in like the world was on fire and my tent was the last safe place. Mid's back, hovering north of the camp, sitting there watching us. Well, go shoot it. This is why you're here. My irritation turned to fear when he backed away, wild-eyed. We did. Most of my men are bloodstains in the snow. He sank into an empty chair, exhausted. I'm the only one left. We need to live or give them back all the samples. Are you insane? These specimens are the find of the century. Those pieces of the thing will advance metallurgy hundreds of years. Johnson launched from the chair and grabbed me as I tried to sit. How do you know what is important? He yelled, shaking me angrily. All you've done is read this book since we got back. Instead of reading it, you should take it out there and throw it as far as you can. It is out there waiting for you to finish so it can kill us all, including you. Let go of me. I'm your superior. I say what happens here and you best not forget it. He dropped me but continued to glare, his face inches from mine. Now get out and keep this camp safe, or I will find somebody who can. You'll get us killed. But I'll protect your people the best I can if you won't. When the monster comes back, I'll point your tent out for it to find its possessions. He stormed out, so I went back to reading. The 30th of November in the year of our Lord, 1866. This could be my last entry. Today, I am devastated. Tobias has revealed his true self. As we made our way to the resting place of the metal craft from the sky, the more he became angry and unhinged. The closer that we came to the resting place of the metal craft, the louder he mumbled to himself. During a loud rant, he let slip his true nature. He had killed my beautiful Beth. He stabbed her with the knife that he had also stabbed me with. I wrestled with him and almost got the knife from him before he stabbed me in the side. His madness made him strong, and he threw me off like I was nothing but a flea. While I lay in the snow, writhing with pain, he paced back and forth. Tobias raved about how she had been too good for me and her beauty, a trap that he broke me out of. He spoke in madness, and I see now that he is also the one killing off people during the trip. My brother has always had a temper problem. I see now it was an illness. This madness must have gripped my brother for a long time, and this strange trip had pushed him off the ledge that he was on. His madness subsided and he ran off into the snow. I write this after patching my wound as best as I can, and I'm proceeding with my sled to the craft. If I am to die here, I want my last breath while seeing wonders from the night sky. The 1st of December in the year of our Lord, 1866. I am here. I have found the skycraft. Tobias is out there following me. The wound aches, but I am still able to walk. Beth, be with me on this last adventure. I turned the page, and to my surprise, the next page was a video display. I saw debris like an aircraft crash site, a dog sled, a man limping toward the camera, another man sneaking up on him. I could only assume that it was Nick and Tobias, and the video captured from the craft's cameras. The video switched to a different view. Nick limped to the machine while Tobias hid behind debris. Though I knew he couldn't hear me, I wanted to warn Nick. Tobias jumped Nick and they fell to the ground, fighting. Nick managed to knock the knife from his brother's grab. They both struggled to grab it. Nick managed to grab the ivory-handled instrument of death. He stabbed Tobias, rolled away from the writhing body, and dropped the knife instead. Limping more than before, he reached the side of the ship. I could see bright white light pouring from a door as it opened. The view changed to the ship's inside. Small gray and white beings watched Nick as he limped in. Off to the left, a woman walked toward him. The beauty of the woman is like an angel from heaven. Nick looked at her in astonishment before he enveloped her in a hug. You could see surprise on her face before returning the hug. Sound poured from the book. They spoke German, and so I translated below. Her speech sounded mechanical, like a translation program. I thought I lost you. Where have you been, Beth? I've always been here. Ah, I see. In your mind, you see me as your dead wife. I do resemble her, but I am not her. The woman helped the sagging Nick from falling. Come, I will take you to our medical center where we will heal your wounds. They walked down the hall, followed by other beings. The camera, set to capture movement, flashed to the door as Tobias rolled inside. Nick and the alien woman walked into a room with a table in the middle and a console on one wall. Everything was bright, clean, and blindingly white. I could only assume a sterile environment from the cleanliness. What happened? Why did you crash? The woman looked sad. She helped Nick on the table and turned to the console. We picked up those men you left hoping to help them get home. She touched the console and arms unfolded from the ceiling above the table. We didn't know you had left them because they were violent. They acted normal for a bit until we flew low to see if we could cut away for you in the ice. They attacked our pilots and damaged our flight controls as we hovered over your ship. They were killed by an explosion of energy from the console that they had damaged. We barely made it without more damage. As the arms worked on Nick, Tobias barged in, intent on killing his brother. The knife hit one of the mechanical arms and a bright flash overwhelmed the camera. When it cleared, a nightmare scene appeared. The woman lay on the floor, motionless. Nick was transformed, shorter and thicker, almost armored looking. But the real nightmare was standing front and center of the feed. It was the demon that I saw, horned head and white skin pulled over bone. I believe this was Tobias, and the bot must have malfunctioned and changed them. Tobias became the darkness in his soul, and Nick, well, I don't know. In the corner of the screen, the woman stirred, pulling something from a pocket. She aimed at Tobias, who screamed and fled. The camera switched to follow as he headed deeper into the ship. Switching back, Nick stirred and the alien woman examined him. In a language not of this earth, she sent the gray beings out in the hall. She handed Nick a red coat from a closet in the wall. Thank you, Beth. What has happened to me? She shook her head and sadness tinged her beautiful features. Your brother and his madness attacked you as the medbot healed your wounds. She paused. A tear rolled down her face. I'm sorry. It has changed you and your brother. The robot glitched when his knife damaged a circuit. You are no longer fully human, Nick. The medbot mixed DNA from our people into your cells, and it made you immortal and armored to protect you from the creature your brother has become. Your brother's madness is now manifest. He is what you call in your legends a Krampus, because this image was in his head when the machine overloaded, and it changed him into that image. You mean my brother is now a demon? Nick looked bewildered by it all. Yes, and there is more. Your personality has been altered and will soon override your current state. You had a tumor in your brain and the medical robot removed it. It was in the personality area of your mind, and it was responsible for your deep depression at times. Because of the damage, it did not have a chance to equalize your emotions. She looked back at the screen on the machine. You will find yourself immensely joyful at times, as happy as you were ever depressed. This is too much. I can't take this. I need time to consider all of this. Nick sat and the woman, Beth, sat as well. You look so much like her. I am a hybrid. I have human and alien DNA in my body, the same as you. Nick frowned, confused. She continued. Your Beth may have been one of us living among you as a test. DNA, a test. Even as a video image, I could tell Nick was bewildered by her explanation. Oh, yes, I forgot. Your science isn't there yet. She looked deep in thought. It is the building blocks of your body. It is what determines how you look, among other things. And I have this alien DNA in me now as well. Yes, your brother's ill-timed attack caused all kinds of changes to both of you that we never intended. A beep sounded and I saw her look at a device on her wrist. This gets worse. Your brother has taken a landcraft and some of the Alona with him. The video sputtered and stopped. What were Alona? More writing on the next page. It looked like Nick's, but with different timestamps. 24th of December, 1867. After a lot of adjustment, my new life has purpose. Krampus plots humanity's destruction. The Alona were members of the white-skinned alien race who opposed the Grey Elves' idea of peaceful integration with humans. Beth has helped me get used to the new abilities of my body. I can change shape and nothing can puncture my skin. Our spy in my brother's camp reported Krampus has found a way to corrupt already naughty children and use them to build his army. He is a machine that moves a substance similar in shape to coal through the ether to them, and it takes over their mind and steals their soul. Luckily for us, its power supply is broken and takes a year to charge. Beth says the machine is a teleporter and we also have one. I went back to the camp and found survivors. The ship was destroyed by ice and the men were at the end of their supplies when I found them. Beth and I made them believe in the danger the world was in, and we came upon a unique plan. They are heading back to Germany and to the rest of the world to boost the legends of Santa and warn the world of Krampus. One of the men is Oliver Kringle, a relative of my wife Beth, and a hybrid as well. He had followed us, believing one of us was the murderer of his cousin. Kringle, that's my last name. What the hell? His anger over what Tobias did to my Beth mirrored my own, and his confusion over the new Beth beside me was understandable. She has taken a liking to me, and I have to her, so I hope she will be my new Mrs. Claus. Kringle will lead the German contingent, getting Europe prepared. Using our teleporter, I can once a year send out a blocking device to protect the children of the world. This device will be hidden in toys so the children will keep them close for the year. Our equipment detects the minds of good children and helps protect them from Krampus's poison. For the rest, we shall build a list and check it twice for naughty or nice children. I will visit each on Christmas night to be sure I prevent Krampus's coal from stealing the children's souls. So Santa is real. No way. The 25th of December, 1868. Good night. I saved many children. Our devices disguised as toys went out to everyone that we could detect and last. Beth is my management. She keeps the elves working, building the toy disguises for our device to prevent Krampus's coal from corrupting the children of the world. Some of the elves have fixed the escape ship. They are launching tomorrow to return home and bring us help before Krampus's elves figure out how to bypass our current device. I hope we can keep his efforts to destroy the world contained until they can return in a few thousand years. The 25th of December, 1939. Krampus has the whole world at war. Men, evil and good, fighting in trenches far from their homes. Krampus is gaining power. We have lost Kringle's network. I am proceeding as usual and hope that it is enough to prevent the apocalypse. I know what happened. During World War II, my family fled Germany to America. My great-great-great-grandfather was killed helping the rest of us escape from the Gestapo squads. He was an electronics genius who didn't want his inventions stolen. Most of the entries after this are claws repeating how they once again stopped Krampus. But several entries have interesting information. 25th of December, 2018. The world is losing faith in Santa Claus. I had to spend a lot of this year finding new allies in the battle for the world. I found Crinkle's descendants and one is like his ancestors. He will make a great leader of a new American team supporting our efforts against Krampus. The 23rd of December, 2019. What is he planning this year? A strong energy signal is building at his base. Human satellites will soon see these emissions. We have to stop them before it draws too much attention. Our elves are working hard getting toys ready for transport. The teleportation system is charging. The elves fueled these sled engines in case I needed to do reconnaissance. The 24th of December, 2019. There is an exploration team out there in the snow. Beth had pinpointed them today. I went out in the sled to get a look at them. The journal stopped here, because we shot at him. My tent ripped open. Krampus stood there growling. The bladed staff he killed Rowan with glowed, ready to take my head off. Shots rang out and I saw Johnson firing his rifle at Krampus as he advanced on my tent. With a roar, Krampus turned and ran Johnson down, slicing his head from his body, which continued firing for a moment. Krampus laughed. He advanced toward me, slicing the air in front of him with every step. I couldn't move. He was going to kill me, and I couldn't lift the journal that I still held. Behind me, something came to rest. Krampus stopped his blade just out of reach of my head. Hold, Tobias. You shall not kill this man tonight. I unfroze and turned. A jolly fat man in red stood behind me. He tapped his staff on the ground. Kris Kringle, stand behind me. Krampus shall have no power here tonight. Growls came from behind the monster and miniature versions of him fanned out. Nick, you were always a fool. I killed your wife and our team, and had it not been for the mess with the healing room, I would have ended your miserable life as well. Curse you and your luck. Krampus rushed Nick. Sparks flew where his blade was parried with Santa's staff. Nick pushed Krampus away like he was a rag doll and swung his staff in the air. Lightning rained on the miniature Krampuses. Tobias screamed in pain. Damn you, Nick. One day I will end you and the elves. Krampus jumped and disappeared into a light swooping in from the clouds. Nick and I were alone. The camp was silent. Was I the only one left? Nicholas Claus, I read your book. I am grateful for being saved, yet I have questions. I held the book up. Why did you mention my family name here? Your ancestor, Oliver Kringle, was a hybrid like Beth, but neither of them knew this. He sat in an undamaged chair. As you know, after the World War broke out, your great-great-great-grandfather moved his whole family to America. Only someone with enough DNA of the Greys can operate Greys technology. One of your great cousins had enough alien genes in him to help my work. We made sure one of you with the ability would always be around to operate our detection systems. He pointed to the book that I was still holding out. You see, you can use our tech or opening that book would have killed you. You mean the owner of K-Tech Inc. is a relative of mine? I said as well. Why have I not been told that I was related? Santa laughed. It was a jolly sound. Chris, I am sorry, but there is much I cannot explain right now. Krampus may be back, and it is soon to be Christmas. Get back to your main camp and return to send out the toys, so I can prevent the creation of more of those things you saw tonight. Those were children? No, they are created by these souls of children. A child's soul is a powerful tool for my brother to create the creatures of his army. We need to go now. He rose from the chair and touched my arm. We were in a sled in a blink, which was being pulled by 12 mechanical reindeer. Seconds later, we landed at 20 miles away outside the main base. His eyes twinkled. He put a finger to the side of his nose. Goodbye, Chris. We may meet again. He pointed at the journal. Keep my knowledge safe. One day you may be called to carry on the fight. Advanced knowledge will be helpful, I believe. He pulled out another journal and touched it to the one that I held. I now have a backup, so I won't lose the information. It is important to always remember our humanity. With a wink and a smile, his sled blasted into the night. I heard him yell as he sped away. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. So, I am here writing this to let everybody know that Santa is real, and so is Krampus. You better watch out. Krampus is coming for our children, and they better be nice so Santa can protect them every Christmas night.